call the RCA meeting to order, and I have to read the housekeeping as mentioned for those that are joining us. Thank you for joining us via Zoom virtually. We appreciate you participating remotely for RCA. We're going to do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation if we have any. But before we begin, just some quick guidelines to make it successful and make sure that you're heard. Some instructions. We ask that if you have any other communication or devices on, that you mute them. We know some of us are on multiple devices, so we ask for that help, like your cell phone, and also that we don't hear any background. For each agenda item, we're going to announce that item, and we will be taking roll call votes for those for my colleagues. And we just ask that you state your city of representation for the meeting. It just makes it a little bit easier as they're capturing all the roll call votes. For those that would like to make public comment, I'm not sure if there are any on today or would like to, but if you'd like to raise your hand using the raise hand button, we'll make sure to call on you. And then if you're using a smartphone, you just tap the screen and that will help you raise hand if you're not sure. You can also use comments if you're not sure how to do any of that. You can use the comments and we will check those. So if you are calling in only on conference call and you can't see us, please dial *9 so that we know that you'd like to speak. Okay, I think I got through that. So I know we're going to go straight into our agenda, and I think that brings us right to roll call.
Thank you. District 1?
District 1 here.
District 2?
Here.
District 3? District 4? District 5? Banning?
Banning here, Mayor Colleen Wallace.
Thank you. Beaumont?
Beaumont here.
Calamasa?
Here.
Canyon Lake? Canyon Lake?
Here.
Thank you. Corona?
Here.
Eastvale? Eastvale? Hemet?
Here.
Harupa Valley?
Here.
Lake Elsinore?
Here.
Menifee?
Menifee, Lisa Sobek here.
Moreno Valley? Moreno Valley? Marietta?
Present.
Norco?
Here.
Paris?
Here.
Riverside?
Here.
San Jacinto?
Here.
Temecula?
Marianne is here.
Wildemar?
Morning, Ben Benoit from Wildomar here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think if member Lisa Sobek from Menifee will lead us in the pledge, that would be great.
Sorry, I'm not on mute. I wasn't on mute. If you'll please stand where you are, we have a flag on our screen. Please join with me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic.
to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That'll take us to agenda item number 4, public comments. Do we have any requests to speak?
I am seeing Patrick Ellis with his hand raised.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Ellis. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I don't think that this item is on the agenda technically. So if I speak out of turn, I apologize. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Patrick Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of the Murrieta-Wildomar Chamber of Commerce. I also sit as the chairman of the board for the Riverside County Workforce Development Board. I am wanting to bring to your attention, I know that there has been an ongoing discussion around the MSHCP fees in regard to the Nexus study and such. I think that one thing that happened in the last couple of weeks was that a lot of staff at some of the cities, especially a lot of the ones that we work with, it kind of came up without a lot of notice. And so there was some issues and concerns around the increase in the fees of, especially in the industrial area. One of the concerns is that, especially for Southwest Riverside County, we have a huge need for industrial space. One of the things that we cannot seem to do is keep companies here in Southwest Riverside County because we don't have the space that they need as they grow and expand. And so one of the things that we need is to grow this. We have been challenged as we've tried to attract businesses and development here to Southwest Riverside County, is that we need it to pencil out. It has not penciled out in comparison to San Diego and Orange County. And so now if we're looking with these new fees, we're going to be so far out of the ballpark that we're not going to be able to address this. The other thing that was brought to our attention in the last couple of weeks was this idea that, or not the idea, but the unfortunate consequence that any recreational development would be also considered within this fee scale, which unfortunately that devastates a lot of programs and opportunities that are out there. One the city of Murrieta has been looking at was the idea around this sports complex, which would probably put it outside of the realm of possibility for us. We really need this type of development. I understand, BIA came in and really fought for the home development side of it, and I applaud them for that. That's what they're there for. But obviously it sounds like the industrial side of it was not represented on a pretty regular basis during these discussions. And I just want to kind of just make sure that that you're all looking at this from the perspective. I know that myself, I know with some of the people that I've worked with over the years on this call, have always referenced that we love to criticize a lot of those in Sacramento because they're not, they don't have their feet in reality. But I want to make sure that you understand that there are, unintended consequences to some of these decisions made like this. There are projects that will not happen, at least in Southwest Riverside County. And obviously I'm representing that area more than anything else at this point. And I get it that there's, we always want to kind of stick it to the Amazons and such that are out there, but there are unintended consequences. We want to stick it to Amazon. So I really want, that you all have that opportunity to maybe reconsider this. I know that this is something that still has a few months before it really takes hold, but I really encourage you to reconsider this and look at this on that industrial side. And I thank you for the time to address you guys. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Are there any other requests to speak?
I am not seeing anyone else with their hand raised.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before, but to Mr. Ellis's comment, for your, you don't see this item on the agenda, but it will be in the executive director's update towards the end of the agenda. And also some communication went out today regarding this open dialogue for our member agencies, and the chambers were included in that. So you'll be receiving some communication from the RCA board, and we're opening and welcoming discussion as we move forward. So thank you for your comments today. Okay, so if there are no further public comments, that'll take us to item number 5. Are there any additions or revisions?
No.
All right. Do we have any requests to speak on the consent calendar, which is our next item, item number 6? Looks like Menifee has a request. Lisa, you can unmute and tell us what you need.
So I just wanted to ask, I see that it's being brought forward that they would like to change the monthly financial reports to quarterly. And I'd just like to ask how that outline is going to look. Will it all be meshed together, or will it come separately so we'll be able to see the fees per month? Because I'm looking at the fees, and Menifee's a pretty big supporter of the fees right now. So I just I do look at those fees and just would like to be able to just watch them and keep seeing how we're doing. And just maybe Jennifer can share how that will help save time, or if there's any other discussion on it, I'm fine with it, but just thought I'd ask a question since it's new.
Okay. Do you want, would you like a staff little bit of more understanding on 6B, and then
Yes.
do you want to pull that item? Yes?
Yes, 6B.
And Natasha, it's Mary Ann from Temecula. I have concerns also. You know, when times are slow and we're not doing as many purchases, or you know, there's not as much activity, that may be acceptable. But when we're very busy and we're looking to purchase a lot of property, and it seems that cities are under development, I actually like to see it monthly, just to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening around Southwest Riverside County, not just with Temecula, but with other cities as well. So I'd be interested to hear the rationale.
Okay, so it sounds like we want to pull item 6B. Are there, if there's no further requests, can we entertain a motion for the rest of the consent calendar?
So I'll make a motion to
Okay, I think I have a motion from Banning, Menifee, and I'm not sure who the other. But sounds like we have a motion. Can I get a second?
You got a second from Marietta.
Marietta, perfect, thank you. All right, we'll go to roll call vote, and then we'll circle back to 6B.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3, District 4, District 5,
Yes.
Banning,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Yes.
Hemet,
Yes.
Carupa Valley. Carupa
Yes.
Valley, thank you. Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes.
All right, thank you so much. Let me circle. So I believe Jennifer Fuller has this item. So can we get some clarification for the concerns brought up from our members?
Good afternoon, Board. Jennifer Fuller, Financial Administration Manager for RCTC RCA. I believe we were thinking that while we're still going to prepare the reports monthly, it would save time not only for us, but for you, not having to see them every month at both the executive committee level and the board of directors level, but we will have that information prepared monthly. So if it's board direction, we could continue to place it on the agenda. It's up to your decision whether you'd like to see it monthly or quarterly.
Well, it's Mary Ann again, since I was a person who favored pulling the item. I do like to see it monthly for the reasons that I stated. And if we see it, does it have to be on the agenda? Can it just be for our information, or I don't know?
Hi, it's Anne. But we can have it as a consent calendar item every month so that it's always on an agenda. It's always available to you. It will be on consent calendar, but if you have questions, you can ask it to be pulled off. So we can readily put it on the agenda every month if that's what you'd like. No problem.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it on consent as well, especially if we go into this new Nexus study and there's questions and all, we're going to have some changes. And I think we just need to be as transparent as possible. So I would ask that it stay on the consent calendar.
And that way it's
Okay.
available to the public. That way it's available to the public as well.
Okay, so for clarification, 6B is, it's a receive and file, it's multiple things. So do we want to separate this as direction to staff for it to come back monthly? And then how would we recommend taking this item?
I'm okay with consent calendar.
I am as well.
Sure, I believe we could just do a motion to direct staff to provide the fee collection updates to the board on a monthly basis and leave the recommended item number 1 the same.
Yeah, I will support that motion.
I will second it.
So it sounds like we have a motion to support from Temecula and a second by Menifee. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Looks like yes. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All right. Then we will go to roll call vote.
District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4? I'm sorry, District 5?
Yes.
Banning?
Yes.
Beaumont?
Yes.
Calimesa?
Yes.
Canyon Lake?
Aye.
Corona?
Aye.
Eastville?
Yes.
Hemet?
Yes.
Caropa Valley?
Yes.
Lake Elsinore?
Yes.
Menifee?
Yes.
Moreno Valley?
Yes.
Marietta?
Yes.
Norco?
Yes.
Paris?
Yes.
Riverside?
Yes.
San Jacinto?
Yes.
Temecula?
Aye.
Waldemar?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that'll take us to item number 7, which is closed session. And I believe we have an announcement to make for closed session.
Yes. The board will now be going into closed session to discuss the acquisition of the property of the 5 properties that are listed on the agenda. Following the closed session, there will likely be a report out.
So those that are public comment, we'll be right back with you, basically. Beth again. Awesome. All right. Mr. DeBon?
Yes, the board considered the five closed session items in closed session. With regards to item 1, the board approved the purchase of that property for $120,000. As for item 2, Mustang Lane property, the board approved the purchase of that property for $790,000. With regards to the third property, Peter Cohen, the board approved the acquisition of that property for $345,000. For item 4, the McCurry and Fleeman property, the board approved the acquisition of that property for $95,000. And finally, with regards to item 5, the TNC Stevenson property, the Nature Conservancy Stevenson property, the board approved the acquisition of that property for $240,000. And that's our closed session report.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We are on our agenda. We are on item number 8. Just for housekeeping, item number 8 and item number 9 will be heard together. They are of relative subject matter together, so we're going to hear those together. So just so everyone's clear, if you can't see us or you're hearing us, that's the adoption of an ordinance related to procurement policy manual, and then the introduction of resolution to amend the bylaws regarding the executive director's authority. So that's item number 8 and 9. Are there any requests to speak on those items?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. All right. Then I will turn it over to Mr. Matt Wallace for presentation.
Good afternoon, Chair Johnson and board members. Again, this is a combined presentation for item number 9, RCA bylaws, and item 8, RCTC RCA procurement policy manual, although both items will be voted on separately. Next slide, please. Actually, is this slide? There it is. RCTC and the RCA entered into the Implementation and Management Services Agreement effective January 1, 2021. Under the agreement, RCTC shall administer, coordinate, and supervise the activities of the RCA as set forth in the RCA Joint Exercise of Powers Agreement and shall act for RCA in accomplishing its purposes. Among the reasons stated by the RCA board for the management transition were management efficiencies and consolidation of administrative functions, as well as adding some of the professional practices of RCTC to the administration of RCA and the MSHCP. As stated in the staff report for the agreement, RCTC general administrative policies and processes, including procurement of consultant and vendor contracts, will be utilized. Staff has identified procurement policies as an immediate policy that is necessary to conduct business pursuant to the board's mandate. Doing so will enable streamlined administration while maintaining accountability for expenditure of public funds. In many ways, bringing the RCTC procurement policy manual to RCA will strengthen pre-existing RCA procurement policies. However, in order for the new RCTC RCA procurement policy manual to be implemented, revisions to the RCA bylaws are necessary. The next slide provides a background of RCTC's procurement history. Next slide, please. RCTC's initial procurement policy manual, or PPM, was adopted in April 2007 in response to the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, review. Subsequently, in 2008, RCTC adopted a comprehensive PPM and established a centralized procurement function in 2008, which is responsible for the purchase of all goods and services in accordance with the RCTC PPM. The procurement department currently consists of 3 budgeted staff, and Jose Mendoza is the procurement manager. Since 2012, RCTC has used Planet Bids to provide online vendor and bid management support services. Through the use of Planet Bids, RCTC has realized efficiency gains such as vendor registration and profile management, greater outreach to vendors, bid document distribution, customer email notification, and secure e-bidding. Planet Bids is also used by other governmental agencies in Southern California, which allows for bidding collaboration. RCTC has adopted several revisions to update the PPM to comply with FTA, Federal Highway Administration, Caltrans, Federal Office of Management and Budget Uniform Guidance, state regulations, and best practices. The PPM has successfully guided RCTC's procurements for design build, construction, preliminary engineering, and professional services, as well as supplies, equipment, and materials. The next slide provides a background of RCA's procurement policies. Next slide, please. RCA procurement policies can be found in the RCA bylaws and in Ordinance 0802. Currently, the RCA bylaws include executive director authority to enter into contracts up to $50,000 and supplies, materials, and equipment contracts up to $25,000. The RCA board adopted ordinance number 0802 on September 8, 2008 to reflect professional standards in the management of RCA's resources to ensure that services, supplies, materials, and equipment are procured appropriately. Next slide, please. As a result of the implementation and management services agreement, and in order to streamline procurement administration, staff recommends revising RCTC's existing PPM to incorporate RCA's procurement guidelines for a single source and comprehensive PPM applicable to both agencies. To accomplish this, staff proposes that 1, the RCA bylaws be updated for procurement policies and other revisions. 2, the PPM incorporate RCA procurement policies, RCTC updates and changes, and other general revisions. And 3, a new electronic signature policy as provided for in the PPM be approved. Next slide, please. The revisions proposed to the RCA bylaws are intended to be administrative in nature and fulfill 2 primary purposes. 1, enabling implementation of the RCTC RCA PPM by updating the section for the executive director to authorize contracts in compliance with the PPM and removing references to specific procurement authority levels. And 2, centralizing member agency communications and board administration matters through the clerk of the board. Other proposed revisions clean up and update language without making substantive changes to their meaning or effect. Next slide, please. The proposed RCTC RCA PPM is comprehensive and organized into 11 chapters. The first 2 cover the procurement process and general procurement matters. Chapters 3 through 7 cover specific procurement policies for competitive, non-competitive, and emergency procurements. And chapters 8 through 11 cover applicable laws and regulations, disposal of surplus property, and other procurement matters and payments. Specific changes related to RCA include the following. Chapter 1 adds references and definitions for RCA and RCTC and revises sections within the chapter to make provisions applicable to both agencies. Chapter 2 includes executive director single signature authority limits up to $100,000 per contract and $300,000 in the aggregate per fiscal year, approval limits and solicitation types for RCA, and RCA's public project advertisement and publication requirements. Chapter 3 on competitive sealed bids includes RCA's public project requirements. Chapter 7 on non-competitive and emergency services includes policies for RCA emergency procurements. Chapter 8 on applicable laws and regulations includes references to laws and regulations that apply to RCA procurements. And Chapter 9 on disposal of surplus property removes references to real property, which will be addressed in an update to RCTC's current right-of-way policies manual. Other changes made throughout the manual include changing references to the agencies as appropriate. Attachment 2 to the staff report provides a red line version of the PPM showing these changes for RCA as well as RCTC changes. Next slide, please. The PPM provides for the use and acceptance of electronic signatures in accordance with an adopted policy. Due to the impacts of COVID-19 on work environments, the RCTC Executive Director, in consultation with legal counsel, established an electronic signature policy. Subsequently, staff worked with legal counsel to develop a comprehensive electronic signature policy that allows the use of electronic signatures in lieu of manual signatures when permitted by law and establishes when an electronic signature may replace a manual signature. The electronic signature use policy will allow the implementation of guidelines for the use and acceptance of electronic signatures used to conduct official business of RCTC and RCA. The use of electronic signature technology will allow the agencies to collect and preserve signatures on documents quickly, securely, and efficiently. Additionally, the policy will help reduce the waste of paper, increase the efficient use of public resources, and ensure the security and authenticity of electronic records, including electronic signatures. The proposed policy is included as attachment 4 to the staff report. Next slide, please. As noted earlier, this presentation covers 2 agenda items. The 2 recommendations for item 9 related to the RCA bylaws include: 1, approve the proposed amendments to RCA bylaws subject to the 4-week noticing period required in Article 13B of the RCA bylaws, and 2, introduce resolution number 2021-006 to amend the bylaws. For item 8, there are 5 recommendations to the board. Approve the revised RCTC RCA PPM, rescind ordinance number 0802 related to the prior purchasing policy for supplies, materials, and equipment, introduce ordinance number 21-01 related to the revised PPM, approve the electronic signature use policy, and adopt resolution number 2021-005 regarding the electronic signature use policy. Next slide, please. In order to finalize the revised PPM, staff has worked with legal counsel to ensure the updates are consistent with state and federal regulations and reflect best practices. If policies and related resolutions and ordinance are approved today, there are 2 important dates related to RCA's bylaws and the PPM. The board meeting on March 1st for board adoption of the bylaws and PPM, and March 31st, ordinance number 21-01 for the PPM is effective. The revised PPM and electronic signature use policy were approved at the January 25th RCTC Budget and Implementation Committee and are scheduled for commission adoption on February 10th. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Before we bring, that was a lot of information of making sure that our organization is aligned and efficient. So before I just call for a motion or discussion, I want to get some clarification. Item 8 has the 5 items. Are those acceptable in one motion, or do you need them separately?
One motion is fine.
Okay, that's only if all my colleagues are okay with all 5. Sorry, I should have prefaced it with that, but I wanted to make sure before we got into discussion. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I will bring it up. There are no requests to speak still, is that correct? I don't see anything.
Correct. I don't see any hands raised.
I do.
Okay.
I have one. Just one short one. When I was first trained on the RCA, I received a large notebook with, and I know between RCA and RTCT, they've been working really hard. Do we need to turn those notebooks back in and receive updates?
I don't know that you need to turn it back in, but yes, you will be receiving updates. So we're working on those packages and certainly we'll get them out to you. But especially considering we're all in a virtual environment, I don't think you need to worry about turning them back in.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on item number 8? Okay, we will entertain a motion. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Menifee.
Second, Waldemar.
I have a motion from Menifee as a first and a second as San Jacinto. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll go to roll call vote for all 5 components of 8.
District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
Banning? Banning? Beaumont,
Yes, for banning.
thank
Yes.
you. Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake, Canyon Lake, Corona,
Aye.
Eastville, Eastville, Hemet,
Yes.
Coropa Valley,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Aye.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 8 passes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam, Madam Chair, Canyon Lake here. It's an aye from us. My mic was off, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so that will take us to item number 9. And do we have any discussion? Then we'll entertain a motion.
Banning.
Motion.
I've got a first from Banning and a second
Canyon Lake.
from Canyon Lake. All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to roll call vote.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Banning,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville, Hemet,
Yes.
Coropa Valley,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Aye.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Wallace, for your presentation. The bylaw, that component of the bylaw hasn't been looked at or revised since, I think, almost in 13 years. So a lot of work was done. I appreciate that. Congratulations, a little bit more efficient and making progress. That takes us to item number 10, and this is the Super Bloom policy. Do we have any requests to speak? No. Okay, then I think, Ms. Tricia Campbell, are we giving a presentation today?
Yes, we are. Good afternoon, Chair Johnson and board members. My name is Tricia Campbell, and I am the RCA's Reserve Management and Monitoring Manager. In 2019, we had a record number of the public assessing our RCA lands and other open space along Walker Canyon Road to see the super bloom of California poppies up close and personal. They came from all over, including other countries, and social media catapulted our 2019 super bloom onto the world stage. It prompted a widespread need for collaboration and coordination across many jurisdictions to deal with the traffic on the public roads and along the I-15, as well as how to protect the lands from being trampled. Having gotten through the 2019 super bloom, the RCA Executive Committee made it clear the RCA needed to provide a policy to clarify the role of the RCA when such an event occurs in the future. The policy is basic, with the last 2 bullet items being the key. RCA will make all reasonable efforts to attend meetings and events with cities, the county, law enforcement, Caltrans, etc., and that the RCA will not be responsible for costs incurred by cities, the county, other individuals or entities because of the super bloom. The RCA requests approval of the super bloom policy adopt resolution number 2021-004, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority adopting a super bloom policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. This item is just to help us move forward so that we have a policy in place. As Tricia explained, I know personally, being from the city of Lake Elsinore, I always lovingly say that I twitch every time I see this, but I know we were all impacted and appreciate the collaboration and support that we received from so many of our partners. So I would just, I don't have any discussion, but thank you for this and see if there is any discussion for the board. And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, First District.
San Jacinto will second.
Thank you. I have a first by District 1 and a second by San Jacinto. If there's no further discussion, we will move to roll call vote.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Banning,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Corona,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Carupa Valley,
Yes.
Lake Elsinore,
Yes.
Menifee,
Aye.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta, Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Riverside,
Yes.
San Jacinto,
Yes.
Temecula,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tricia. And that'll take us to item number 11 on our agenda, which is the executive committee member appointments. Back in December, I had asked for those that wanted to serve to reach out and did get some great requests. And I actually was shocked. I had more interest than we had opportunity. And so thank you for that. And I told the team that I think, and our colleagues on the executive committee currently, I think that that's a compliment to the RCA and to the staff that everybody would like to serve at a higher level. So congratulations. Unfortunately, that means that there's not a yes for everybody. And so I have had some conversations, and in trying to help make sure that our representation is balanced and fair throughout our plan area, small, medium, and large, I have asked the city of Norco to join us on the executive committee. Mr. Kevin Bash is our longest standing.
Well, that lets me out.
I'm sorry? Mr. Kevin Bash I think is the longest standing concurrent board member for the RCA, and I'm right under him, but he is definitely the longest standing. So his knowledge of the plan and his contribution, we're looking forward to that. We've also want to take the time to thank our colleague, Mr. Green from the city of Canyon Lake, who has served us the last few years on the executive committee. He has a passion for the plan, especially some great insight into our fire safety, and his contributions have been extremely valued and will be continued to be a resource to us as he stays with us on the general board. But for the executive committee, there will be no changes other than adding the addition of the city of Norco. So I am excited to start a new year with our current board. I know there's lots of new faces and then lots of familiar and friendly faces, and some new but not new. So welcome back, or welcome for the first time if this is your first meeting. RCA is going through a transition period, so it's a great time to join. There's lots of things to learn and lots of things to do, and it's a great transition into some of the things that were started and will continue with RCA, like our species of the month. But just as the city of Menifee, my colleague Lisa Sobek mentioned, I actually have that same binder. Look at it, says 2013. It's the binder. It's really big and thick, and it doesn't have anything in it from 2013, but I saved the binder at least. And we are going to be focusing on something that I know was really difficult when I got started, which was getting to know the RCA and the MSHCP. I mean, the acronyms alone will take you a year or two to learn if you're quick. And so we're going to add that element, and you'll see that on the agenda. It'll be just like the highlight of Species of the Month and understanding what we're protecting and conserving, and then just some of the processes that RCA does. And the staff has done such a great job with that. We thought it might be a great way for board members to get introduced every month to the RCA and to the MSHCP. So I think that would be perfect segue into Tricia Campbell, who's going to be doing, oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. Oh, you need a.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we need a ratification, yes, of the two executive committee members.
So that will, I need to go back to item number 11, I'm so sorry, and ratify my appointments to the executive committee. So if there's discussion, we'll take that or we'll entertain a motion.
Before we make a motion, I would like to just thank Mr. Green from Canyon Lake for his service on the executive committee, and welcome your appointment, Kevin Bash. And then I'll make a motion for that change.
District 2 seconds.
Thank you. I have a motion by Menifee and a second by District 2, and I'm concurrent. Thank you, Mr. Green, for your service. And I will, if no further discussion, we'll go to roll call vote.
District 1?
District 1, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
Banning?
Yes.
Beaumont?
Yes.
Calamasa?
Yes.
Canyon Lake?
Aye.
Corona?
Aye.
Hemet?
Yes.
Karupa Valley?
Yes.
Lake Elsinore?
Yes.
Menifee?
Aye.
Moreno Valley?
Yes.
Marietta?
Yes.
Norco?
Abstain.
Paris?
Yes.
Riverside?
Yes.
San Jacinto?
Yes.
Temecula?
Aye.
Wildemar?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Green, did you want to say something? Did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't have my hand up, but it's been a real honor to serve on the executive board. I know Kevin will do a good job. I did not want to leave. I have a passion, as I said to you, but I understand the balancing, and I understand all the things that we need to do to move forward, and I'm totally in support of that. So good luck to the new executive board, and I'll be still here. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. We appreciate you. Okay, now we can move to getting to know the MSHCP by Tricia Campbell.
Oh, no. Just waiting for the slide to get up there. Good afternoon again. Welcome to our first topic of getting to know the MSHCP. So what is HANS? HANS is the Habitat Acquisition Negotiation Strategy. While it is detailed in Volume 1 of the MSHCP plan documents, it can be really hard to read out the basics. HANS is the process whereby properties are evaluated for whether they are described in the MSHCP for the reserve system. It occurs between the permittee, which is the city or the county, and the property owner at the city or county planning departments. The county calls it HANS, as does the MSHCP, while the city of Lake Elsinore, for example, calls it LEAP. The name is not important, but the process is. HANS only occurs with privately owned lands within what are called criteria cells. These are These cells are roughly 160 acres in extent and occur as a checkerboard pattern in parts of the MSHCP plan area. There are two types of Hans. A development Hans, whereby the property owner wants to file for development, and a non-development Hans, whereby the property owner comes to the city or county to see if the MSHCP would like to purchase their land for the reserve. The city or county reviews the property as it relates to what is described in the MSHCP for the reserve and makes a determination of what portion of the property is needed for the MSHCP reserve. This can range from 0 to 100%. Single-family homes and mobile homes on single lots are exempt from Hans. None of these properties would go into the reserve unless the owner wanted to approach the city or county as a non-development Hans or to the RCA as a willing seller. Also exempt are road projects and other public projects proposed by the permittees, cities, the county, RCTC, etc. Only the city or county has made it, once the city or county has made its Hans determination, i.e. whether the reserve assembly is needed, and the project is consistent with all other parts of the MSHCP, the permittee submits it to the RCA to begin that joint project review process. The RCA will provide its findings, and then the wildlife agencies will provide their findings. All findings are provided to the city or county for their records. This completes the Hans process, and the RCA and the property owner will go into negotiations for land acquisition, if applicable. Next slide. Please contact me if you have any questions, or you can also forward my information to whomever you may know that needs help in understanding this process. We are always available to offer help and guidance. Thank you.
Chair Johnson, you're on mute.
Are there any questions from the board? Well, thank you for the presentation. I look forward to this being a quick tidbit into learning more about the RCA as we go forward. That will take us to Species of the Month. I believe Betsy is doing our presentation today.
Good afternoon, Chair Johnson and the board. I'm Betsy Dion. I'm the RCA Senior Management Analyst for Management and Monitoring. And for this month, our species of the month will be the arroyo chub. And there it is. Next slide, please. The arroyo chub is a small fish just over 4 inches long. It has a chunky body with silver to gray scales and a stout nose. It is a state species of special concern. They prefer slow-moving rivers, streams, and creeks with warm to cool water and sandy or muddy substrate. They once occurred throughout the Los Angeles basin, but its range has decreased due to development and channelization. In the plan area, it has historically been found in Ana and Santa Margarita watersheds. And the threats to this species include development, dams, channelization, invasive species, floods, fires, decreased water quality, and the loss of genetic diversity due to habitat fragmentation. Next slide, please. The arroyo chub has a diet that consists of algae, but they will also feed on small invertebrates. Most of their spawning takes place between June and July, but they can breed continuously from February through August. Females will release eggs, and these eggs are 4 days, with their larvae being 0.1 to 0.2 inches long when they emerge. The chub will become sexually mature at 1 year old, and it is believed that they will live to be 3 to 4 years old. They're uniquely adapted to living in aquatic habitats which experience everything from drought to flash flood conditions, which is very typical in our area. Next slide, please. For the species objectives for the chub, it is to include within the MHSCP conservation area 4,580 acres of habitat that provides potential spawning habitat and foraging opportunities for the chub in the Santa Ana and Santa Margarita watersheds. Also to include within the MHSCP conservation area, the suitable core areas for arroyo chub in the Santa Ana watershed, and also to include the suitable core areas and available adjacent habitat for arroyo chub in the Santa Margarita watershed. This includes the lower Temecula Creek, Murrieta Creek, Duluth Creek, and 3,478 acres of suitable habitat conservation shed, and this makes up 3,108 acres. Next slide, please. So to continue, for the species objectives, within the conservation area, reserve managers responsible for the areas identified in the Santa Margarita watershed will assess the range of the chub movement in the watershed and the need for connectivity and identify measures to restore connectivity to be implemented as feasible. Within the MHSCP conservation area, the reserve managers responsible for the areas identified in Objective 2 and 3, that would be the Santa Ana watershed and the Santa Margarita watershed cores, will assess the threats to the chub from degraded habitat, identify areas of the watershed that are necessary for successful spawning of the chub, and identify and implement management measures to address threats and protect critical areas. The RCA and partner agencies continue to monitor chub populations, as well as conduct invasive species removal to improve habitat for the chub. This includes removal of other aquatic animals that are invasive and also plant species such as arundo. The last detection of the species in the lower Temecula Creek was in 2018. In the Santa Margarita River, it was in 2010, and the Santa Ana River, it was last detected in 2019. Next slide, please. So that's everything I have for you today on the road chat. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
It got a little wonky at the end, but Betsy said if you have any questions, she's here to answer them. That was the translation. But thank you so much. Any questions for our species in a month?
Just a comment, Madam Chair.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said just a comment.
Oh, please, please.
Thank you so much, Beth, for the presentation. It was great. Very intriguing species.
Thank you. I think so too.
That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the board's expectations, we will bounce between species of the month and get to know the MSHCP every other month so that the meeting isn't extended by both presentations, but wanted to help set the year. And then we know that species of the month was such a great addition to the RCA. That's the same theory for Get to Know the RCA. It's just a little bit of quick information. So we appreciate it. It's been such a highlight and everybody loves it. So thank you, Betsy. We appreciate that very much. Okay.
You're welcome.
That is going to take us, before I head to the Board of Directors and Executive Report really quickly, I just wanted to quickly say that there's going to be Anne's going to give us an update on the study. So for public comment, this is if you've been hanging on with us, this is the portion in which we'll get a quick update, and then there will be some information to follow. With that, I'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Anne Mayer.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. We're excited to be at our very first RCA board meeting. I look forward to meeting those of you I haven't met and look forward to working with you all. Philip, could you put the slide up, please? So my first presentation is an update on the RCA management transition. If we could go to the next slide, please. So the RCTC RCA Managing Agency Agreement went into place on January 1st of this year. And so we've got a month under our belt so far, and it's really going quite well. For everything that we've been doing related to this transition, we've been holding this list of board key objectives that you discussed back in November as the framework for all of the decisions that we're making administratively related to how things are handled internally, but for the policy items that we're bringing forward to you for your consideration and direction. We have been able to ensure, I know one of the things that was really, really important was making sure that we kept progress moving forward on all of the RCA activities, completing land acquisitions, escrows have been closing. So I'm happy to report that we've been able to maintain progress. We've also been able to address some of the key challenging areas in at least coming up with strategies for addressing them. If we can go to the next slide, please. So some of the immediate actions that we needed to take were all related to administrative consolidation, and that's partially what you saw today coming before you, is making sure that our administrative policies were in sync. I'm very pleased that 7 county employees who were assigned to RCA transitioned over to RCTC. So you've probably seen today, Kristen, Jen, Daisy, Trisha, Betsy, Philip, and Emily have all come over to RCTC. We're delighted to have them. They've been instrumental throughout this transition, and we're really excited to have them as part of the team. We've been, just handling basic things like, IT, transitioning the phones, working with the county in terms of any collaboration we need to make on the finance and payroll side of the house as well. In terms of contract consolidations, that was one of the efficiencies that this board had identified as opportunities they wanted us to explore. I'm pleased to report that we've already started on a couple of contracts. Both IT support and public relations contracts have been consolidated. With respect to recruitment, as you know, we had 7 folks come over to RCTC, but there were still a number of vacant positions. I'm really pleased to say we are getting some outstanding candidates in our recruitments. And I think within the next month or so, we will have a deputy clerk of the board assigned to RCA on board. We have job offers out on staff working for Hector in the right-of-way department. We also have legislative affairs and public affairs positions that are filled as well, and those folks are just getting started. From a legislative advocacy standpoint, we started prior to the transition coordinating between the RCTC Legislative Affairs Advocacy Team and the RCA Advocacy Team. So we are in a coordinated approach in both Sacramento and Washington, D.C., and we expect there to be a lot of, we're hopeful for action here related to some of the key RCA initiatives in the coming months at the state and particularly the federal level. And then on the other, one of the other priorities identified was a need for enhanced communication to member agencies and stakeholders. So we've been starting on that process as well. Next slide, please. So back when we were originally making this transition proposal, we identified that the first 6 months of this transition would be a stage 1 of the transition, where it would mostly be getting everything in place, as well as providing an opportunity for us to do an assessment of the positions in the organization and the opportunities for additional efficiencies. So I'm very pleased to say we've got a number of actions completed. In addition to finalizing the appointment of me as the RCA Executive Director, in addition to the RCTC Executive Director, I have appointed Aaron Hake as the interim Regional Conservation Deputy Executive Director. for this stage 1 to help us with the initial assessment and the initial actions related to the transition. Aaron, in his regular assignment, is our external affairs director. We plan on advertising for that position probably closer to next fiscal year. As you know, the Nexus study was approved in December. I'll talk about the implementation of that next. And then we have ongoing efforts that will be ongoing for several months related to contracts, process improvements, and initiating stakeholder outreach. What we have not started in this first phase yet is a complete organizational analysis of the organization and the positions. We're not quite ready for that yet. Next slide. So just after a first month, I think we've got an excellent team being formed, great staff work, good spirits, lots of collaboration occurring. It's been very interesting with our outreach to especially with some of the member agencies where they're sharing their experiences and suggestions for improvement. And so we'll be continuing on that path of listening sessions with stakeholders, and we are moving quickly. Again, trying to get the administrative actions all taken care of so we can focus primarily on achieving RCA's mission. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know you're seeing a lot of new faces for those of you who have been on the board for a while, so you're seeing new faces, and I was asked to introduce a few folks who you'll be seeing with some frequency. So I know it's hard on the screen, but Aaron Hake, if you could wave your hand so that folks can see you. Aaron is the Interim Deputy Executive Director. I'd also like to introduce the RCTC Deputy Executive Director, John Standiford. So John, if you could wave. John is taking care of Aaron's regular activities in external affairs while Aaron is on this temporary assignment. Teresa Trevino is the Chief Financial Officer. So she is working very closely with Matt Wallace, who you saw earlier today. He's our Deputy Director of Financial Administration. And Matt is working close with Jen and Daisy on the financial administration side of the house. And Hector Casillas, you met Hector earlier. Hector is our right-of-way manager. And so he's and his team are handling all of the land acquisitions. And then Lisa Mobley is the clerk of the board. There are more RCTC folks here, but we'll introduce them all next time. These are the people that you're probably going to be seeing most frequently in the coming months. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Anne. Does anybody have any questions for our executive director? That was a lot of information.
It was.
It was a lot of information. No? Okay. All right. Well, then I wanted to take this opportunity. If there's no questions, we're a little lengthy in our time today, and I want to be respectful of that. But I would like to really just take a moment. We have done this on the executive committee, but I think we can't do it enough, is to thank our past chairman, Mr. Jonathan Ingram from the city of Marietta. Couple of things, Jonathan worked tirelessly for the RCA, spending more hours than I think anybody even knows or has been documented, but to help, position the MSHCP for a successful completion. That is always, he says that all the time, every time, and just really his focus to help us ensure some stability, which, we're starting to see the fruition, that come to fruition with our management plan and our collaboration. But really making sure that we have our institutional knowledge, and that remains, that's very important, especially for the history of the plan. And then just really the focus on the key priorities that he had, public outreach and education, making sure we were looking for the funding opportunities that would help us be successful in creating the success of completing the MSHCP. So just the redundancy was a big issue for our past chairman, and he's worked really hard to create transparency. And so I know that, I hope that all of you would would join me in saying that we will continue to keep that torch moving forward and continue the good work of our past chair. So if virtually you'd like to help me celebrate our past chair, we've given him a plaque, but we'd like to do that publicly again. Thank you, Jonathan. We'll give you a minute. Look at all those claps. See, look at, and it's quiet too. Everybody's so good.
Thank you
Jonathan.
so much, Madam Chair, for the kind words. It's very kind of you. This organization is very close to my heart, and so is everybody on this board and all of my colleagues. I've enjoyed immensely working with you and hope to see great things in the future. I know that Ann at the helm will make sure that that happens. I know you as chairwoman will make that happen. We have great staff and we have great board members, and I look forward to seeing amazing things in the future and the completion of the plan. That is the main objective. Let's get it done, guys. We can do this. It shouldn't take that long. If we work together as a team and as colleagues, we will make it happen. There is no doubt in my mind. And this is a great thing for our county. We're one of the largest HPCs in the country, and quite frankly, we're one of the most successful because we have people in this county that absolutely care and want to have that open space and want to have that synergy between development and environment. And I know with all of Ann's success in the past with transportation that she will bring those successes to the RCA as well. And I look forward to working with all of you.
All right. Thank you so much. And before we adjourn, just a reminder that there was some talk today about communication and our collaboration, and one of those efforts is that today already, I believe in most of our colleagues' inboxes should be a coordinated effort for communication in Western Riverside County and kind of what's going on with the RCA. We know that sometimes there's a misnomer that there's not a lot of information out there, so I think part of that moving the torch forward, as our past chair had said, was to really collaborate our coordination, so I could use the board's help in making sure that information is passed on to your cities. Your city managers should also have a copy of that communication. But really, we don't want to, we want everybody to be at the table and have an opportunity to take part in the discussions and the progress of RCA. So with that, I hope that you can help us move our communication to another level, especially in a virtual world where we're not seeing each other and able to grab lunch or coffee and say, hey, I need, a little bit of help here. So that'll take us to our adjournment if there's no further comments.
Madam Chair, if I may, just really quickly.
Oh, wow.
just really quickly, if possible, can we bring back to the board at a future date, Ann, if possible, and Madam Chair, the discussion with respect to the payment process being brought over directly to the RCA rather than going through the city to help facilitate getting those payments in sooner and taking that burden off the city so that we don't go backwards. That was one of the things that we discussed early on. So I'm just curious to see, and I know you got you're drinking from a fire hose, Ann. So, but that's something that I think will be essential to help in the future so that we don't have a lot of issues with people not being in compliance or our partners working with them in the future.
Okay, took notes, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, before I see Menifee, and I know there was a few others, but before I move on to adjournment, I forgot probably the most important part, which was our executive director has the Nexus study update. So I need to give her that floor back so she can do that. And I apologize, I skipped right over that.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you very much. A very quick update on the status of the Nexus study approval process and implementation. As you know, the board approved that study in December. At the end of December, the implementation packages went out to each of the cities, the board members, mayors, city managers, finance directors, planning directors. And very shortly after that, we started scheduling meetings as requested with individual member agencies, fielding questions from member agencies. So we are well underway in that process. You may recall that the goal is to have each of the member agencies adopt the Nexus study and its associated documents by May 1st so that we're ready on July 1st for implementation. In addition to the Nexus study communication, we've also been doing communications to update them related to the transition with RCTC and RCA. So far, most of the questions coming from member agencies have been related to the process for approval, timelines of approval, options related to prepayment of fees, availability of templates. And so most of the questions coming from member agency staff are administrative in nature. Questions or comments, as you've heard today during public comments from developers and stakeholders, have primarily been focused on prepayment of fee options, as well as the impact of fees, the fee increases on commercial industrial properties. So we are gathering all of this feedback. We will continue to have a dialogue with both member agencies as well as stakeholders, listening to their concerns, identifying areas where there may be opportunities for administrative streamlining, but our plan is to continue those conversations and to come back to this board and the executive committee with what we're hearing, with any opportunities that we have for improvements in the process, as well as for any of your direction. I would also let you know too, we're really making sure from the member agency standpoint that we have extensive outreach. WRCOG has been, staff has been gracious enough to invite us to attend their technical advisory committee meeting, their public works committee meeting, their planning director meetings. So we're making sure that we've got expansive outreach to member agencies and working with them closely. And then finally, at your board meeting in December, when you approved the Nexus study, we were also given direction to explore exemptions for single family residents or grandfather opportunities. There was a conversation at executive committee earlier this month, and we are continuing to evaluate options there. So we'll probably, we'll be back, well, not probably, we will be back to executive committee later this month for further conversation, and then back to the full board with potential options there. So that concludes my update on Nexus study implementation.
Menifee?
Thank you. And I think, Anne, you have to get to another meeting. I apologize. Is it the RCTC that's right after this? Okay,
Nope.
good. All right, I was a little nervous. I know there's one. So in regards to Patrick Ellis, I want to disclose he sent me an email, did reach out to me along with another developer in Western Riverside County. And I know, being on the executive committee, we did hear from the BIA on their increase. And I just would like to make sure we do hear back from staff on the commercial and industry partners and how this does affect economic development. So that would be my one question. I know we went through this and we had public hearings, but since this has been brought out, I just want to be fair and make sure that we're all compromising and doing what we can for economic development, but also helping the RCA plan move forward. Okay?
Will do.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. With respect to the Nexus study, and when we originally had a breakdown that previous staff had provided with respect to the duration, extension, and if we were to have implemented the fees the way they were, predicated on where we were at on the Nexus study, were exponentially higher than what was being looked at. But we also had a phased plan on this, and so I think that would be something that would be good to send out to the member agencies, or at least have it reviewed again so that everybody sees where it's at, that it's not all being implemented at one time, and that it's being phased in as it goes along. And that may be something where later on we can have the discussion, okay, if it's going to impact something, what is it going to impact, and what's the impact to the agency? And making sure that, again, and I emphasize this to everyone on the board, This Nexus study was a culmination of 10 years of not doing increases. And we have to maintain our permit. So we need to take a look at how we're going to be able to do this and accommodate business simultaneously. But again, if you look at the original documentation and the original proposals, we scrutinized them for over a year back and forth. So basically, we're being backed into a corner with respect to how we're going to be able to manage this, put money into the endowment, and be fair. So it's something that I think would be prudent to bring back if we could actually get that documentation that was presented.
Okay,
That's
you.
it. That was a mouthful, I'm sure.
Good insight. Thank you very much. Is there any, I know there was a lot of hands. I think it was because they were making sure I didn't skip over that. Everybody good? Okay. Thank you so much. All right, so that will take us to our adjournment. Our next meeting is March 1st, 2021. Can't believe it's 2021. Okay, and we will adjourn at 2:03 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your decorum. We appreciate you, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
All right,
Have
thank
a nice
you.
day, everyone.
Let me see vitamin.